Okay, so we've now seen 2 episodes of Boba Fett, kind of jumping between 2 different timelines. He's kind of into that, well, what we will call today, where he's trying to establish his little empire, and then we flip back between him and mostly the Sand People. There's some clone stuff in there.
The Tusken Warriors.
The Tusken Warriors. What do you think?
You know, honestly, I actually was impressed. I like the fact of 2 parts. It gave us an insight into the Tusken Warriors, because I remember way back in A New Hope, whenever they tried to blame, whenever old Obi-Wan tried to blame the Tusken Warriors for like destroying one of the shipping carts that had like CP30 and R2D2, and then whenever you'd see him across the area, they always seemed like they were just enemies. Like all they were doing is just like, yo, they're just the bad guys. They're the blank bad guys. You. But in this situation, that we actually got like depth with them, and which is what I love about this new era of storytelling. That villains actually get real stories, and it's like a villain is just a matter of perspective, which we all know. I mean, any war story will tell us that, but like the depth of like their culture and like the impact, how they work, how they Boba Fett was able to get in and respected, and what their process was, and exactly why they do what they do. Like I thought that was dope. And then just juxtaposed against his development and growth as the not villain anymore. Well,
he's got to change, hasn't he? Because he from the moment he goes into that pit, he comes out, and then we see him as brutal and violent and super strong and super cool, in The Mandalorian. So how did he go from that to that? And we're kind of seeing a little bit of this. He was cool, obviously, in Empire Strikes Back, and probably got shortchanged a bit in Jedi, but now we're finding out that he goes through the desert with the Tusken Raiders, and just kind of what we saw in the first couple episodes of The Mandalorian. Let's just stop. Let's not run into the fan service. Let's not get too carried away. Let's just get into this world. Let's get into these characters. Both Boba Fett, but as you said, the Tusken Raiders. Let's just journey a bit, because that's what the first couple episodes of The Mandalorian was.
Exactly.
Yes, the only real big revelation was Baby Yoda, but other than that, it was just these characters getting to know each other, and just setting up the world in which he was about to get into. And then season 2 comes, all the fan service, and I really like those couple episodes. Let's just get into this.
Right. It's like, let's just enjoy the environment while giving us context, but just get to see this expanded world the way that it is. And like I loved it. Like I know some people might consider it, may call it slow, but I feel like this has been the pace that it needed to be. Like I felt like that was what New Hope tried to do, and it was good for the 70s. It's hard to watch back because it's so much slower, but because now we're getting back to this slow storytelling, but it doesn't feel like it drags. It just feels like right?
Yeah, but you think about those first episodes again, going to season 1 of Mandalorian. The first 3 episodes are just him going around the desert with Baby Yoda, just fighting, big rhinoceroses and jumping on and off Jawa machinery. Like it just sets up the world, and I think they're on the same trajectory here.
Right.
Good old Teomara Morrison, he's killing it as Boba Fett. And of course, but there are some good little revelations and some really interesting characters in the now as well. Like we have those two Hutts, the brother and sister.
Oh yeah, the brother and the sister. Which I'm not gonna lie, that I loved it, and I was also like, where have they been for all these years? Because this is way past the last. This is past the Last Jedi at this point.
Is it?
No, this is before the Last Jedi. No, this is after the Last Jedi.
Okay, so Luke Skywalker's still around because
Right. So okay, maybe this is between Empire Strikes Back and The Last Jedi.
yeah, this would be between The Jedi Strikes Back and The Force Awakens, I think.
Okay, between Last Jedi and Force Awakens.
Yeah,
So
I'm pretty
it's
sure.
been a few years since the events of Empire, obviously. Whenever Jabba got Jabba got killed at The Last Jedi. I'm sorry, you're right.
No. The Jedi Strikes
I
Back.
mean the
Yeah, and this is his cousins.
right. So that's what I'm just trying to figure out, like where their interference, how long it's been that their interference has been so missed, like that they're just popping up now. So it's just like, yo, you guys, these guys.
Yeah. So what are their abilities? Are they just smart? I mean, they're just big fat slobs, right? So they can't physically. They're not like Kingpin. They can't beat anyone physically.
But
they got mind control over people? How do they do what they do? How do these huts?
I think the thing that I think with Jabba, from what I've read and I slightly remember, it's the guy is incredibly impervious. He is very Kingpin like. It's not that he's incapable of messing you up. They are gluttonous, but but they're just like they know how to control the situation, and it's very difficult to kill them. Like it's very, very difficult to kill them. So you can try, but if they get
Princess Leia got the chain around him, and
I think she got. It was one of those. It was a perfect storm that existed in that. The perfect distraction, the perfect catch to be able to wrap and be able to pull and be able to keep them. And I think Jabba by that point was an older Jabba, because younger Jabba was just a brutal tear through everything. So
they've got themselves that Wookiee. He looks like a badass kind of.
It's probably
Navy SEAL,
like that.
Ninja, kind of warrior Wookiee. Now, apparently, he's a character in the canon somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't think you and I are familiar enough. I did see it being tossed around.
We probably saw him like randomly in. I bet you. I don't even know. I bet you.
Yeah, he's like somewhere in. He's somewhere in the books, or he's somewhere in he's in there somewhere, and he looks the part. Yeah. he looks badass. So I got an impression the way they exchange looks that we could see, that we could see a Wookiee.
We are clearly going to be seeing a Boba Fett versus Wookiee showdown. Yeah.
So there's some good plants into the some good stuff for the future to look forward to. Seeding some interesting confrontations. I think we will see the Tusken. I think at one point, obviously, he's going to leave the Tusken Raiders, but I think at the same time, he might be calling upon them for a bit of help when things heat up later down the track. They're probably be pretty good allies. So, I was
going to say, it was so funny. I read a tweet before I started watching where someone says, it's nice to know that all the troubles that exist in the desert are because of how terrible the Jawas are, not the Tusken Raiders.
Well, yeah, I mean, getting back to the Tusken Raiders, he makes, when they overrun that train, that old-fashioned kind of Western trope of overrunning the train and taking over that, and he basically says to the people on the train, you're basically a bunch of colonialists. These are indigenous people. So, again, kind of reshaping that story a bit, retelling that story from their perspective. They are the indigenous people of the Dune Sea. And
also, did you get the heavy reference, the heavy feeling of the movie Dune? You are taking and we're about to take this back. Like when they started talking about the sands, I was like, bro.
Spice, yeah. When they said spice,
the spice, that's right.
Like, now we're not even trying. We might as well just bring Timothy Chalamet or whatever to come in the middle of this. Having said that, George Lucas is very open about the Star Wars was heavily influenced by the books.
Yeah.
And he makes no makes no apologies for that. So you know, if you're going to steal off the best, and it becomes a tribute. It becomes an homage.
It's an homage. Do we get billions of dollars back? No, it's just an homage.
Well, what's his name? Frank somebody. Anyway, the guy who wrote June is dead now, so I don't. It's his estate that misses out, not him. But yeah, no, it basically really leans into the spice thing, and like they're supposed to be basically the Furman. And so I don't, you know, I don't necessarily have a problem with it.
No, I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I was just like, huh, okay, so we're just gonna do that. All right. I don't know. Here's a kicker. I don't know if it felt more of an homage or was it a shot to Warner Brothers?
I don't know. I mean,
Disney Warner Brothers rivalry continues.
Well, George Lucas is still, to me, so Jon Favreau and Filoni are the executive producers on this, and you've got Rodriguez is now coming into it more, Robert Rodriguez, which is good.
Yeah.
I don't love everything Robert Rodriguez does, but he's a wholehearted filmmaker.
It definitely, his highs are very high, his lows are very low.
Yeah. But he gives I love the spirit in which he makes his movies. So so I'm glad he's in there doing his thing. And but George Lucas is still very much influencing those guys, and because Filoni apparently is his unofficial son, and he just Filoni does a lot of the cartoons and all that stuff, and George Lucas's continual conversation, and it's just like Dan and Dave when they were doing the Game of Thrones, the closer they were to the source material, to the source of Martin, the better it is, and that seems to be the case with Star Wars. As these filmmakers and these storytellers, the closer they can get to the source material, which is Lucas himself, the better these are. It's a no-brainer, really. I don't, you've heard what I've said about Lucas. I don't think he's a great director, but he's a visionary storyteller. And if good directors can get around him and glean those stories. Right. And so when we hit, I don't think, my point about that is I don't think George Lucas has a beef on Warner Brothers. I don't think he carries on with anything like that. He probably has a beef against Kathleen Kennedy and some of the guys who now own the rights to Star Wars.
Like you messed up Art.
Well, yeah, he's angry about. He's expressed his anger about stuff, but in some ways, the failure of the movies, at least not the financial failure, but the critical failure of the movies and the fan failure of the movies and the reception of Filoni stuff, because justified George Lucas. It's kind of, he's not just a grumbly old man in the back, drinking whiskey and yelling at the trees and the cats and the squirrels.
You guys should have done it this way. It could be so much.
He's actually right, like in so many ways, he's actually right.
Yeah.
And so now it looks to me and feels to me like Star Wars is coming back around with these series, and I'm excited for what happens next.
Let's remind our friends to please click on the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when we have new videos out.
Subscribe!
Die or die.